Patty Murray.
Thank you very much, Senator Kennedy. Looking forward to working with you on this.
Same
again.
here.
I am pleased to serve as the ranking member of this important subcommittee, and I do hope we can continue our track record of writing bipartisan spending bills that make the crucial investments in our communities that we need. You know, DOE's work is really far-reaching, is major implications for how much families spend on energy bills, on the reliability of our energy grid, whether we lead the world in clean energy, AI, quantum computing, and our national security and our nuclear waste cleanup program. In my home state of Washington, as you know, we see all of this firsthand at the Bonneville Power Administration, which provides power to families across our region, at the Pacific Northwest National Lab, which is pioneering cutting-edge research, and at Hanford, where we have the biggest nuclear cleanup site in the country and a moral and legal obligation that we can never shortchange. So we must give the programs DOE manages their due in terms of funding and in terms of oversight necessary to make sure that funding actually gets to our communities. But I believe those goals are in jeopardy because of some of your actions over the last few months, like a truly sweeping funding freeze, unprecedented contract cancellations, mass staffing reductions, and uncertainty that is hurting communities across our country. Now, Secretary Wright, my colleagues and I have been pressing you for information on staffing, on funds signed into law you are holding up or straight up canceling, and more. And I've only received 2 responses so far, both of them yesterday, clearly to get ahead of today's hearing. And response, I have to say, is being charitable because you didn't really provide any answers in those. Last week, you told the House you have ignored basic inquiries from lawmakers because you are too busy. And you mentioned you don't want to spend time on false premises. So I thought we could save some time today by debunking a few of those false premises. It is false for you to say less than 1,000 people have left since you took over. We know over 3,500 DOE employees have taken the so-called buyout that you offered, and we know you fired 500 more. It is false for you to say no contracts have been canceled when you have plainly canceled electric vehicle and low-income energy assistance grants in Colorado, one example. And it is false for you to say there are no unpaid invoices when we have heard from organizations still waiting on payments, including hydrogen hubs, which have unpaid invoices. Now, in addition to ignoring requests from Congress, your FY25 spend plan, required by law, is completely inadequate. That is really critical, Mr. Secretary. It is a critical document for us to understand how you are spending or how you are blocking or canceling billions of dollars Congress, all of us, provided for critical projects across the country. I've heard you say you are merely conducting a review, as if that somehow makes it okay. Call it whatever you want. The bottom line is the money is not moving. And as a former businessman, you know perfectly well that uncertainty alone has a massive cost. Jobs are being lost because of your actions. Private investment in critical energy projects is being canceled, delayed, threatened, to the tune of $71 billion so far this year. And as electric prices hit record highs, you are halting progress on investments that would lower people's bills. Meanwhile, you are letting thousands of critical staff go, encouraging folks to leave, with no regard for if they do their work well or if their work is important. I still don't know how you could do something as crazy as try to fire Bonneville Power Administration workers in the name of efficiency. Those are literally people who keep the lights on, and they're not even paid by taxpayer dollars. Now, I know that eventually you reverse those firings, but the fact that they happened at all was really, to me, a first in a parade of red flags. Now, we are here today to talk about another red flag. That is your budget that completely guts the non-defense half of your mission. Overall, you want to slash $20 billion from DOE's science and energy programs. Your budget proposes ripping 75% out of the energy efficiency and renewable energy program and shuttering important clean energy and manufacturing programs. I don't know who's telling you people want to pay higher electric bills. Your budget slashes $1.1 billion from the Office of Science, Who is telling you that we should cede ground to China in the race for innovation and lay off scientists at our national labs? Your budget cuts $15 billion from programs we created in the bipartisan infrastructure law, hydrogen hubs, battery storage, advanced manufacturing, supply chains, and other programs to lower our energy costs. Who told you we don't want those manufacturing jobs? Who told you we don't want to strengthen our energy production and reduce our dependence on foreign oil? Well, here's what I will tell you. If we were to follow through with this disastrous budget, the only energy that we would save is from the lights that go out at factories across the country. Those lights are going to go off as China swoops in to take the lead in the technologies that will define the 21st century. I don't see any efficiency in this budget, but I do see a heavy cost. And that's the cost you're going to pass on to our constituents in the form of higher electric bills, gas bills, and more power outages. Not to mention the cost when manufacturing moves elsewhere, and we have to pay Trump's absurd tariffs for technology we could and should be making right here. Or to the cost to our country, discoveries we could be making here, jobs we could be creating right here, goods we could be making here and selling across the world. Instead, it feels like you want to gift wrap the future and hand it to China. Your budget also, by the way, flat funds the Hanford cleanup. That has serious repercussions. They recently finalized milestones they have to meet on the high-level waste mission. Flat funding means the only way to hit those targets is to pull funding from other priorities, which would have ripple effects for workers carrying out critical projects across the site and ultimately would delay remediation along the Columbia River. That is unacceptable. We cannot rob Peter to pay Paul. Mr. Secretary, I know you talk about energy abundance, but talk is cheap. Doing that work actually takes real investments. I think you know that. Investments you are now ripping to shreds. So I personally want to see less talk and more money getting out the door the way Congress wrote and intended. You know, there is common ground in this space. I know we found it before. The very last bill Chair Kennedy and I wrote together passed out of this committee unanimously. And I want to see us do it again because this is genuinely important work. Now, before I conclude, I would be remiss if I did not address the outrageously corrupt news we got last week on the Army Corps work plan. This administration is ripping away hundreds of millions of dollars from projects that were in the House bill and in the Senate Energy and Water FY25 bills, and funding other projects with that money that were not funded in any bill that we approved. This includes scrapping funds for the Howard Hansen Dam in Washington State. This is a vital project. It has to get done. I want you to know I'm going to keep working with you, Mr. Chairman, to get that done because this committee and the subcommittee have come a long way together to fund these vital projects to communities across our country. And I know no member appreciates any administration playing games with communities for political reasons, as is the case with that work plan that was released last week. It is brazen abuse, pure and simple, and I will keep digging into how that decision was made, demanding answers and speaking out about this and fighting for my state of Washington. Now, before I turn it over back to you, Chair Kennedy, I do want to end by recognizing Doug Clapp. He was my former clerk, a longtime staffer on this subcommittee, and a staffer in my personal office before that. Doug started on this committee in 2007, 2 decades ago, and has left his mark on our nation's laws time and again, championing oversight and good governance, advancing environmental cleanup work, including at the Hanford site, fighting for and securing the vital investments this subcommittee makes, as well as working in my personal office on the Wild Sky Wilderness Act and many other issues important to my constituents. He was someone who understood that when we work together, we can make powerful investments that show government can do good in people's lives. I am really grateful for his years of service. I want to wish him the best as he starts his next chapter. I'm also grateful he left behind not just a strong legacy, but a great team and a subcommittee so well prepared to continue this work, and I thank all of them. Senator Kennedy.